His name was Timmy Dees, with a smile and a laugh that could light up a room, make the darkest day glad. A handout for the underdog, come what may. Steel in his grip, always finding a way. Nobody's son should be lost to the dark. He was somebody's light, a rare kind of spark. Cold black morning, he was running scared, nowhere left to turn, no one aware. He called 911, scared and alone. Said a friend was chasing him right there on the phone. A bat showed up but was told he had gone. Took the friend's word and just moved on. Fear has a sound that gets swallowed by the ground. Nobody looking, nobody near, his own voice calling, and no one to hear. He was so close, yet they still walked away. So close, so near, but nobody looked his way. Tell me how a cry for help just disappears. Tell me how a mother counts 5 months of tears. He's not just a number, not just a number, not just a case. He's a son who called, and they never gave chase. His mama knew him in her bones, knew his voice better than her own. Every day he called just to say hey, until the call stopped and stayed away. She didn't need proof, she didn't need a sign. She just knew a mother always knows the line. Waiting is its own kind of pain. It falls on a mother like rain. She begged someone to search, to care, silence and sad, and no one was there. He was so close, yet they still walked away. So close, so near, but nobody looked his way. Tell me how a cry for help just disappears. Tell me how a mother counts 5 months of tears. He's not just a number, he's not just a number, not just a case. He's a son who called, and they never gave chase. 8 minutes later the badge came by, found the house, found the friends outside. He left a while ago, that's all they heard. Took it as truth without a second word. Made an arrest on an old warrant, nothing they could weigh. That's the part that breaks me to this day. It's that he called for help, he called, and they walked away. He was so close, yet they still walked away. So close, so near, but nobody looked his way. His mama still calling into the air, still whispering his name like a prayer. He's not just a number, not just a case. He's a baby boy, and she still sees his face. He was a joke, a step protector, somebody's son. Timmy Dees, his story's not done. Say his name till justice. He's one, Timmy Dees, always somebody's son.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Did I hit the right button?
Yep,
Yay, I
yep,
hit the right button.
you did.
We never know if I'm going to get the right button. Hey, Dawn, Southern Gal True Crime is with us. Uh, we have All Eyes on Missouri's with us. And of course, my beautiful mods. We have Semi and Irish and Katrina. Hey, Cap's here with
Yep,
us.
you
Oh,
just joined? Good.
great. And welcome to any of you lurkers that are out there. Come on, join the chat. We don't bite, I promise. But greetings, trial junkies and truth seekers and justice warriors. I'm Z, your storyteller in the wilderness of injustice. And with my ride or die, Doc, riding shotgun as we navigate the dark corners where the predators hunt and the system looks away. Every case we cover is a person, it's not just a headline. If we don't tell the real stories, the hard ones, the ones that the system would rather leave buried, nothing will change. Every killer and predator depends on your silence. We don't give it to them. And that's why we're here. Tonight, we shine a light on the story they'd rather leave buried. Even Moo's been giving me that look all week, the one that says, tell it right. So we will. So buckle up. The road ahead gets rough as we walk you through another chapter of this thing they call justice. Doc, are you ready to ride with me?
Absolutely.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about Timmy Dees. And before we bring our guests out, let me just give you a little bit of what happened. Timmy was 26 years old. He was a union rigging worker out of, is it called Creve Coeur, Missouri?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Sometimes I mispronounce things. But he was a man with a job, a routine, and a mother who could set her clock by how often he called her. And that habit really was entrenched in him after he lost his older brother, Michael, in 2021. And from that point on, Timmy checked in on his mama every single day, or he might miss a day or two, but he was always checking on mama. And on February 27th, he had gone to visit friends, and he was down in Fredericksburg. And on the morning of February 28th, Timmy was with a friend named Caleb Nannery. Now, this is in Frederickstown, Madison County, Missouri. The pre-dawn hours, there is a call placed at 4:40 a.m., according to the log for 911. And some people try to say it was at 4:04. The report says 4:40. Timmy called 911. He said a friend was chasing him. He was being threatened. But you know what? Where's that 911 call? Supposedly, they were down for maintenance. Operator doesn't stand the line with the caller who's being scared and being chased. Now, an officer responded in 8 minutes, and wow, that's a great response time. But when he gets there, Caleb tells him, oh, well, he left a while ago. A while ago? 8 minutes? You disappear in 8 minutes? Now, what did the officer do? Nothing. He said, well, he figured that whatever happened was over, so he left. You have a caller who made a call to 911. You're afraid you're being chased by a friend. You don't search. So these are the things that we're going to be looking at. Timmy was found 5 months later, deceased. And we're honored to have his mama with us. And that's Miss Barbara Hall, who lost her son in the most unthinkable way, but hasn't received any answers from the authorities. She is a mother made of steel and is not stopping until she gets answers about what happened to her son and who can blame her. And we're also very honored to have someone that brings decades of real world law enforcement and investigative experience to our conversation. And that's Mr. Steve. And a lot of you know him from True Crime Web. Now, he was a jail detention officer who moved up the road becoming an investigator. He also did everything from SWAT to state certified crime scene technician, or CSI as we know him. He's investigated all kinds of cases. Once he retired, he checked into the true crime community. and he found a spot that needed his attention. So instead of always sitting behind a desk, he still goes out to the field to assist families in his retirement who've lost their loved ones. So it's an honor to have him here helping us tonight because he's helped and talked with Miss Barbara about this case. And so welcome, Mr. Steve and Miss Barbara. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Oh,
you,
Talking
Tony.
about Timmy's case.
Anytime, anything we can do to help. We will be showing the first poster we showed had a code on it to sign up to make a change to get this case reopened. So we'll post that on a post. But the first thing, Miss Barbara, I want to ask, tell us about Timmy. Who was he?
Timmy was funny. He was a jokester. He was always for the underdog. But a lot of things changed after we lost his brother. So I talked to Timmy daily after his brother passed. So he liked to go out with his friends. He loved the music, liked to play cards. We did a lot of playing cards.
I love to play cards.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't like losing either.
No.
Oh, that's too bad. That would have been fun. Now, he lived up close to St. Louis, right? Because that's
Yes.
where he worked.
Yeah, he lived
So-
in Freeform.
Okay. And had he been to see you like recently? Had he been by your place?
Yes, that week before he disappeared, he stayed with me.
Okay. And how did he get over to Frederickstown?
A friend of, well, Timmy's car broke down in my driveway that Friday. So
Okay.
he called a friend of his that he worked with, and him and his friend came in. They talked for me for a while, and then Timmy left with him, and then Caleb drove up to St. Louis and picked Timmy up and brought him to Fredericktown.
Okay. And this was a friend that he had known since they were children, right? But they
Second
hadn't been particularly close in the last few years. Have they?
No, from what I'm understanding, Caleb and Timmy didn't talk to each other a whole lot until after Michael had passed.
Okay.
Because Caleb knew Michael.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So they were kind of getting reacquainted.
I think,
You know.
yes, I believe that Timmy started talking to Caleb because Caleb knew Michael and he was grieving his brother. I mean, it hadn't been, we had just lost his brother on June 19th.
Okay. And that makes sense because when you have a loss like that, sometimes you might reach out to someone that was a friend,
Right.
you know, because they might have recent memories or stories to share.
That's why
mu-
it made sense to me.
Yeah. Now, Chris is here, and Mustang and Don both said hello to you both.
Hello.
So Timmy goes to Frederickstown, and while he's there, when did you find out something was wrong?
On the 28th, I felt like something was wrong because
Okay.
Timmy wasn't answering my phone calls or my text. But I did look through my phone yesterday, which is interesting, and I was looking at the text that the last time I had talked to Timmy, and on the 27th at 5:30 something in the morning, Timmy told me to give him a call, and that was on the 27th of February.
Okay. So see, he's visiting friends. He's still contacting his mama. You know, so this is a young man that does not lose contact with his mother. Now, we have the 911 call, and Mr. Steve, isn't it normal? I mean, maybe not in a big city, but in a smaller community like that, wouldn't it be normal for the operator to stay on with the person if they're scared?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, every department has certain protocols, but you would imagine anytime that you have a environment where threats are made or are being reported, that absolutely it's no different than any type of family violence, domestic violence issue, of any time when someone says that there's possibility of violence, you wish to keep them because it keeps it documents background noise. There's so many cases where things go on that where people can hear vehicles, hear threats, hear others' involvement, and you never know what the last moments of contact will reveal in a case, and so you should never break that contact.
And so because the 911 call is not recorded, supposedly, that we know of, that you've been told, we don't know if there was any background noise.
No, we have no idea if you can hear him running. Can you hear others chasing him? Can you hear threats, shouts? We have no idea.
Yeah. And so the only reason we even really know about the 911 call is because there is the actual report that gets put out.
Right.
And Miss Barbara, here's a question that it stumps me: is the police officer gets there, and I'm sure Mr. Steve can confirm an 8-minute response time. That is good.
Oh, no, it was 5. They were there in 5 minutes. The whole
fi-
incident is only 8 minutes.
Okay, the whole incident. Okay, so within 5 minutes they get there.
Right.
And he and Caleb, the person he was hanging out with, implies that he left a while ago. Well,
No, what happened was the 911 call was made at 4:40 in the morning.
okay.
And on that 911 call, from the documents that I had, because they said lightning struck the 911, so it wasn't recorded. But it says, my friend is threatening me. They were there in 5 minutes. There was Trevor Holland that was out in front of the house. They talked to him. Apparently he was throwing his hands up in the air and all this and that, and got the police officer's attention. Then they ran his name and he had warrants. They put him in the car, and I have recordings where the police officer then put him in the car, went up to the door, knocked on the door, and asked for the person that made the 911 call. They said he had left, and he said, well, just let him know the threat's gone, and he left. So the whole incident was 8 minutes long, all of it, not just.
So
it took an entire 3 minutes for that officer to make that determination.
Yes.
And they decided that Trevor was the friend.
Yeah, they just assumed that because Trevor was, I'm assuming this myself. They were assuming because Trevor was out in front of the house making arm gestures and everything that he was the threat. So and then they ran his name, realized he had warrants, and they arrested him and left.
And Mr. Steve, the interesting thing to me is, okay, they get there within 5 minutes. They're told that Timmy left. He didn't have a vehicle. Wouldn't you inquire how this man left?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many opportunities for law enforcement to do the right thing, from callbacks. Even if because some things can happen with phone signals and things that you may have a drop call, but and if that's the case, you call back, and then of course you have regardless if they could play it back, the dispatcher will have notes of what's going on with the case and can convey those messages to law enforcement that we have individuals being threatened by a friend, and you're talking to the friend. So we don't know what has happened. So let's do a follow-up investigation, which they absolutely dropped the ball on that.
And what's interesting is I had to call the police myself about 3 months ago. And when I called the police, they stayed on the phone with me until they got to my house. They actually came to my house the next day and checked on me again.
Yeah. And that might be something like in a large town, city, you might not have that, but in a smaller town, you're definitely going to have that police officer probably come check on you. you know, because it's, most people know people in the town. But
Right.
the interesting thing is the 911 call disappeared because of a lightning strike. And you guys, this isn't going to be the first lightning strike that this poor town has where things disappear.
Mm.
That, to me, that's what's amazing. But so when did you get notified that Timmy was missing? Or were you ever notified?
I was never notified. I
You
called
ju-
I called the police from where I live and made a missing persons report because I didn't have any social media at that time at all. But I had a friend that was on Timmy's social media, and I had her look because I had a sick feeling that something was wrong because my text wasn't going through, my phone calls, I wasn't getting anything. So I made a police report, a missing
and,
person report.
and you live about what, an hour away from Frederickstown?
It's a little over an hour.
A little over an hour. So you call and you make a report. Um, and when did they finally call you and tell you anything?
They didn't.
They've never.
No, Timmy's dad. I talked to Timmy's dad, and Timmy's dad found out that Timmy was in Fredericktown.
Okay. And so
So then I started calling the Fredericktown Sheriff's Department, and every time I would call, they said they'd have a deputy call me back. And I did that for a whole day, and not one time did they call me back. So I called them the last time. They was getting ready to tell me that a deputy would call me back, and I went off at that point. I said, "Don't worry about it. I know what you're going to say. I've been waiting all day for you to tell me that you're going to have a deputy call me. Nobody's called me, so I'll tell you what. I'll see you at the in front of your steps." And then that's when I packed my car up and went down there.
when did you find out the last time Timmy had been seen on camera?
When I went down there, Timmy's dad had talked to the sheriff, I guess.
Okay. So they told you that Timmy had been seen on camera, and that was the early morning of, or no, it was
Yeah,
around
that was
9.
at no, that was 1:30 in the morning at the C-Bond gas station.
Okay. And that's a picture we have up of Timmy coming into the gas station. The guy in the plaid shirt is Caleb, the friend
Yeah.
he was with. And so that's the last sighting on camera that we have of Timmy.
Right.
And so that's a few hours before we get the 911 call.
Correct.
And so
one of the John Bubba makes the point. So undoubtedly, it was a weak to prove case, and the detectives just didn't care. They didn't even spend enough time to find out whether there was a case or not, right? I mean, they they didn't even make a phone call to his cell phone to try and find out where he was, right? I mean,
Right.
have they ever
hmm.
tried to ping his phone?
Yes, they did eventually ping his phone.
And where did the phone, what was the last ping? Did they ever tell you?
Yeah, it's right down. There's a storage unit a couple doors down, and apparently that's where his phone pinged at.
But they've never found the phone.
They say it's down the creek, but a text message I have has been read on March 5th, and there was a check-in on I can say Facebook on here. I get confused, but he had a check-in on February or March 27th. There was a check-in on his Facebook page. So I had taken that to the highway patrol, and the highway patrol told me anybody could do that.
No, because most people have a password. So,
Right.
Unless you save your passwords and somebody has your phone so that they can get into your stuff.
Yeah, and how did somebody read a text message on March 5th? How did that happen if that phone's down the creek like they're telling me?
Yeah. And Mr. Steve, what do you think about how they didn't even contact Barbara to let her know what was going on after she's the one that reports her son missing?
Well, there's a lot of details of what law enforcement and who they were talking to and gathering information from. And where Barbara was the concerned mother, a lot of the information they were getting from was from Timmy's best so-called friend, who basically led the law enforcement down paths that you will see as you go deeper into this case, that absolutely everything that he revealed was to benefit himself and separate himself from anything that or any involvement of that night with Timmy. And so that's where law enforcement, they relied more upon Caleb's information than they did Barbara's and family's information.
They even asked Caleb what kind of person Timmy was, but not once sat down with me and asked me what kind of person Timmy was. Everything that Caleb says, they went by.
And this is Caleb's a friend that really they weren't that close. So how would Caleb really know anything about him? You know, he'd known him when they were kids. So it's like, you know, you get someone out of your childhood that you knew, and all of a sudden you kind of reconnect, and all of a sudden they're going to know so much about your life. That doesn't even make sense.
Well, and then Caleb's, they even, in all of the documents, it said Caleb got arrested at 8:30, 9 o'clock, around that time in the morning. Caleb's saying that he got arrested at that time. All the documents say that he got arrested at that time, but we have a picture of him getting arrested, and the time on that picture is 10:05.
Yeah, I've got it in here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. That's the picture where and it shows the timestamp. Is it 10:05? So yeah. And that was another thing. He had made a comment about he had gone to get his hair braided, but yet the picture that you see, his braids are all the same. It's never like he's done anything different. So it's like he's just telling stories.
Right.
But this is the receipt that Timmy paid gas for, right?
Well, he got $160 out of the ATM machine.
Out of the ATM. And then eventually the next morning around 9 a.m. Was it 9 a.m. or 9:11? There are 3 attempts that fail. So someone tried to get more money out. Mr. Steve, my question is, why don't we have footage of the ATM?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, you know, Barbara did a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, and they sent still images. And we don't have the video that law enforcement wishes to share. They just wish to share a select half a dozen or dozen still images from the video, and why won't they share that information is of key importance in that.
And what's interesting about that is that information, that receipt right there, did not come from, that came from Monroe, the detective that I made the missing persons report from, where I live. That I would have never known that debit card was used if I wouldn't have got the 4-year request to Monroe, the detective here. I never got a receipt like that or anything from the Highway Patrol.
Okay. Hey, Doodlebug joined us. And that's another thing, you guys. Doodlebug has done very in-depth on this case with Miss Barbara. She's also walked the area. She has footage of that. So if you want to check out her channel, let's give Doodlebug a shout out for what she's done in helping Miss Barbara with this case too. And also Dawn from Southern Gals. She's done footage on this too, because this is an important case. And so that leads you to questions, because it's like with the cops, it's like, come on, if this kid was supposedly okay and you have footage of him on an ATM, why are you not showing his mom that, well, see, he did leave and here he is at 9 a.m. You know, that to me, that would be like.
And the question leads to where Timmy was found 184 yards.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to tell me just recently that it was possible that he wouldn't use that card. Well, if Timmy made a 911 call saying that he was being threatened by his friend is threatening him is exactly what it
Right.
said. Why would he go to that gas station, then walk back and be 184 yards in a little wooded area to where somebody was threatening him? You're already, I mean, I know where that gas station is. I've been there. He would have not went back.
Yeah. Because, you know, if he went to the ATM to get money, he was going to get money for help to leave, because he doesn't, remember you guys, he doesn't have a car. So let's all be honest. This young man is being threatened. He doesn't have a car. If he leaves Caleb's house, who are you going to call? You're going to call your mama to come get you, because mama's not that far away. But there wasn't a call. Now, this is a picture of Caleb talking from the jail, because remember, they arrested him that day around 10, or was it around
Yeah,
10?
10:05.
10:05, you know, acting like he's so worried about Timmy. You know, it's like, really? I'd like to know, did you go to a gas station with the card and try and get some money? You know, there's like, somebody went to that ATM and tried 3 times to get money. You know, Timmy had already taken out what, 160? And
Yeah.
that was the other thing that Caleb tried to say, is he didn't know how much, right, Mr. Steve, he didn't know how much money Timmy had in his bank account or something like that.
Yes, at one point, he relayed that information he didn't know, but later on in another conversation, he knew the exact amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's talking to his sister on a recording from the jail, because he went to jail. He stayed 40 days in jail. When he's talking to his sister in one of them recordings, he's telling his sister that Timmy had $160, but he's telling the police when they ask him how much money Timmy had, they're saying, well, he said something about, I don't pay attention to how much money my friends have.
Yeah. But yet you could tell your sister exactly how much.
Right.
So it's, and that's part of the problem with this case, is there keeps these stories. And this is a text where he was threatening that he was going to harm Timmy, you know. So there's information out there that Timmy called, he felt threatened. We have, you know, texts where Caleb's saying he's going to hurt Timmy.
And I'll tell you,
And
Timmy would have not made a 911 call saying Timmy wouldn't have called the police unless Timmy
Yeah.
was afraid of something. Timmy would not have called the police and got the police involved in anything. Timmy, that was a thing in our family. You didn't get the police involved in stuff unless you were, scared for your life or something. That was
Right.
just not a thing that you did. You didn't involve them in your business.
Right. And so for him to make that call, that was huge.
Yeah.
You know. And then this is the location, we're not showing just the area of where Timmy was found. And it was when they found him, it was a dry creek bed, right?
Yes, 184 yards.
Yeah. There was no water in that, right, Mr. Steve, when they found him?
There's a flow rate through there, it's very low. The average depth, I've walked it when it's running, and it's probably 1.5 feet deep in some spots, and maybe 2 or 3 feet wide in some spots, but it's not anywhere that you would fall into and drown or become saturated, and the environmental conditions would overtake you. I mean, it's nothing like that.
And these were some of the items that was found in Timmy's pocket. Now, you guys, you have to know that Timmy was found 5 months later. It was his mother that was leading a lot of these searches, you know. And like she said, he's found 184 yards, which is about a half a football field away from where he called saying he was in danger. So that's not far. And these are the items that were in his pockets. And that yellow one is the one that has a lot of questions, right, Miss Barbara?
Yes. Timmy didn't have that when he left my house. I've never seen that before. And what got my attention on that is I have never seen it before. And Caleb made sure that he tells his sister in one of the recordings that I have when he was in jail that Timmy bought a tracker. I mean, it's like he went out of his way to tell his sister that Timmy bought a tracker. In my opinion, I thought, well, he sat in jail, realized where he messed up, and started thinking about that. He left a tracker. So I don't know. But
Well, where's the receipt for the tracker?
That's oh yeah, we got receipts of him buying drinks and cigarettes and stuff like that. But there's nothing about that tracker. Wouldn't have known about that tracker if it wasn't for the pictures that they gave me when Timmy was found, because that was in his pocket.
Katrina asked, "Is it a tracker like an air tag, Mr. Steve? Is that what it's similar to?"
Yes, there would have been some type of app, and even through that, you would expect that with some of the technologies, they should be able to verify, especially if we had the phone, we know what apps he had downloaded and who had access, because well, I do not believe that's Timmy's air tag or tracker in any shape, form, or fashion, for the fact that nobody, I think they did some searches for the store and Walmart, and this is something that they did not carry in stock at any of the local stores. And so, and Timmy doesn't have a history of that type of device. So, I have opinions of what it was used for and possibly what it was involving. And of course, it has to do with what you would typically see in drug trade.
Okay. And Caleb's kind of got a reputation for being involved in the drug trade somewhat, maybe.
Yeah, he admits to that.
Yeah.
Oh, he admit. Okay.
Yeah, there's not an issue about that. There's communications that we have. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of communications between Caleb and Timmy for months. But just in the 1 month of February, we 300 plus communications just in 27 days or 28 days, because of morning of, and of where the last threats were made, and then of course they just end. He never followed through with his promises to Miss Barbara about I will search for him. Yet he never contacted him on the one pathway that thousands of times in the days prior he had communicated with him through.
Yeah, and that's what Doodlebug put a comment that he had said he was going to help search, but never passed out one flyer. And let's see, Katrina, he didn't have a restraining order against Caleb because they had just connected again. They had been texting, but he had come and got Timmy to hang out in Fredericksburg. So they were friends as children, and then after he lost his brother, he reconnects with Caleb because Caleb was close to his oldest brother. And so that's kind of how that started. But that's why Miss Barbara said when he made that call for help, which would be very unusual for Timmy to call the police, that was a big thing. So he had to have been scared. It wasn't anything that was just, and then for him to have a tracker, and if it's like Mr. Steve said, it's used in the drug trade, that doesn't even make sense. What was he going to track? They have no receipt showing he bought one. So it doesn't make sense. Who does it
belong to is the big question.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And then here are the other items that they found in his pocket, which is his money, his driver's license, his bank card, you guys, that he supposedly used at 11 a.m. the morning that he had disappeared. So
and
all of a sudden,
that bank card's actually, it's an unemployment card. That Timmy still had money on that unemployment card because he just got back to work after COVID.
Okay.
So that's what that card is. And that card is the one that's used, and it's in Timmy's pocket. It just doesn't. I just want it to make sense to me.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that just doesn't quite. And here's a picture. This is Mr. Steve and Miss Barbara, where they're looking at where Timmy was found, because they've been investigating this right and left. And there's actually going to be a documentary that you guys are both part of about what happened with Timmy. And I think it's important because once that comes out, I expect you all to watch. Because there needs to be some answers here as to what actually happened to him. And so here's a picture of the 3 blue dots. The one blue dot that's on that one road is where he was, the house he was staying at. The other with the long building, that's the storage unit that eventually the dog scented something on.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
And then the other blue dot is where Timmy's body was found. So see how close all of that is. But what happened with the storage unit when the dog hit on it?
Well, I went 6 weeks looking for 10. I could not get, first of all, I could not get the police to come out and look for him at all. I was a little stunned when I showed up down there. And they told me I couldn't prove that Timmy was missing from there. And I had already found out about him being at that gas station. And I told him, I said, I can absolutely prove that Timmy was here. And then they went from that to, I could not prove that Timmy made the 911 call. And I said, oh, so I guess somebody took Timmy's phone and they made the 911 call. And all those months until June 17th, they led me to believe, because Caleb said so, and all my documents say the same thing. Caleb said that Timmy was running. He was paranoid on drugs and thought somebody was chasing him. I don't know what's coming up on my phone here. Okay, sorry. That somebody was chasing him. Caleb is saying that. They were saying that. Everybody was saying that until June 17th, when I got a hold of the sheriff myself. I went down there, knocked on the door. I asked him to give me a copy of the 911 call, and they refused to give it to me at first. And then I told him about the Sunshine Law, which is a FOIA. So then the sheriff did call me back. That was the first time I'd ever talked to her, was June 17th. And I went down there and got the paperwork. And that's how I found out that the phone call actually said, my friend is threatening me, because all those months they had always told me and was putting it out everywhere. What Caleb said was that Timmy was on drugs and he was paranoid that somebody was chasing him. So all that time I believed that, just like everybody else did. I don't understand why the police did not read that piece of paper, because when I got that paper, that's made a big difference to me, saying my friend is threatening me, then I'm paranoid on something and I'm running. So you hear that when somebody's telling you a story and they're lying, some of it is true. Yeah, I believe Timmy was running from Caleb.
Yeah. And to backtrack just a moment, Mr. Steve, when you have a card like that, the chip read fails like 3 times, that is intuitive of that someone doesn't have the right PIN number, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that there's something that we know that we don't have any history that when Timmy uses the card of him having to put multiple entries in. And all we have is that every time he used it, he was able to withdraw the funds that he wanted. And yet we have a mysterious transaction of attempt at 9/11, which is only minutes past some of the threats that were made towards Timmy. And not only from Caleb, but Caleb communicating with other of his personal friends in what was about to happen to Timmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because every one of Timmy's friends reached out to him to see if he was okay, but Caleb never did.
Yeah. And the person he was staying with, that was supposed to be such a good friend that knew so much about him, doesn't bother to reach out and and say, "Are you okay?"
And put this in proper context. Just like I said, we have thousands of communications that uh, through his Facebook that Timmy and Caleb communicated thousands of times. They have a history of communicating through this one platform. And like I said, even in the month of February, there was on average between 10 and 15 communications a day. Yet, from the time that last threat and communication from Caleb to Timmy was made in the early morning hours of the 28th, never again did he or his sister ever attempt to contact him through that platform that he normally communicated 10 to 15 times a day with him on. Never once. Nor did he inform law enforcement to contact Timmy through that platform.
Yeah. Because some people do use Facebook as their main communication. And that, this isn't proof, but it starts to show the circumstantial that there's something not hitting all the points. Something's off.
Yes, we have an individual that's distancing himself from the time period and then never uses that platform and distances himself from that platform and communicating with Timmy or attempting to find his best friend that he's worried about.
Yeah. And the guy that also said the minute he got out of jail, he was going to help search, and he didn't. So these all go together.
Oh, yeah.
So
he had access to a phone. He could have contacted his friends. He could have contacted Barbara and could have said, this is how we're going to have to get in touch with him. But he never offered that avenue.
Yeah. And so here's a question, Miss Barbara. How did dogs get involved in the search then? Who brought the dogs?
A friend of mine that I've known for many years. I've known her over 20 years, actually. Her niece is husband is the chief of a fire department in a small town next to Fredericktown. And he came to the searches when Timmy was first missing and we was looking for him. And he asked me if I could get if he could get cadaver dogs. He told me he could get cadaver dogs. Would I like him to do that? I said, yes. And he said that the only way that we could do that is if I got permission slips from the people, the landowners. And so I went down there on March 13th, got permission slips signed, gave them to him, and then there was a search done on March 15th.
Okay. And so the cadaver dogs take him to that storage building where the blue dot, I got a closer up one of the storage building there. Yeah. But they don't search it, do they?
Because they searched, the dogs kept hitting on storage unit 5 and 6. They take the dogs away, the dogs would take them back to them storage units. They did open storage unit 5, but they refused to open storage unit 6. The sheriff said that it could be a dead mouse, and that I was like, no, cadaver dogs don't hit on dead mice. And she said it had already been searched. We've got a hold of the people that own the storage unit. They said just drive your vehicle through the door, no cost to us. If we thought he was in there, just to drive our car through the door. But the problem was the sheriff pulled her truck in front of that door, and she put her hands on her gun and told everybody to leave.
And then who did you end up?
The storage unit belonged to a police officer that was a resource officer at the school.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. Who did the storage unit that they wouldn't let you search belong to? And that's a resource officer.
Right.
So that's another question that you're like, why? What's going on? And then from that blue dot to the one across is where Timmy eventually gets found.
Right.
And that is actually on property that was owned by a local judge at the time.
Yes.
Okay. So there's just strange happenings. The police try and tell you that the phone was washed away in this creek, correct?
Yes.
And but the last ping was at the storage unit, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Steve, like you walked the the creek. Do you think that the phone drifted away in a, you know?
No, I've done testing for other cases where water volume of even a phone in a river that has a column of water that's 12, 15 feet deep, that whole column moves and the phone would drift through it, and there's a fall rate, and there's the speed of the river and the creek or whatever flow rate, it will carry a phone down stream. Well, we're talking about a creek that doesn't have that flow volume, well, nor that column that will allow a phone to be taken. Not only that, but where Caleb was found, where Timmy was found in that location, in creeks and rivers, you'll see these little catches where debris and limbs and the trees fall in, and they create these barriers. And that's exactly where Timmy was. And so there's nothing that could be washed past where he was found. And the oddity is that also part of Timmy's clothing that was around the lower part of his leg. He was skeletonized, and the clothing, his pants, were upstream, that they were gathered up just like you would if you were standing up and you dropped your pants down to your ankles and they're on your shins. That's how they were gathered up at the lowest point if he was standing up. But in the creek, it would be upstream. It's against what the flow rate, that if let's say there was a flood point or there was some type of flood occurrence, that it wouldn't wash your clothes upstream. Right. They would be washed the other way if at all possible, or they would remain cinched up around his waist, which that was not the case. They were gathered up at the lowest point of his ankles, and which is counterintuitive of water flow of what you would normally see. So there's a lot of things of that all his other bones, 90, I don't know what the percentage of bones that were found. I know he's missing one hand, but still, volume-wise or numerical-wise, a high percentage of his bones were found, and bones is far lighter than his phone. And so
Yeah.
They told me there's a couple of toes and his left hand's gone.
Yes. And so there's not where there could be the phone be washed away, and yet all his skeletal remains are located in that one area. So there's a lot of information that just doesn't make sense of what law enforcement's narrative is about the location.
Right. And Doodlebug made the comment. She said the bank right above where he was located is in direct view of the judge's home side window. She says, just saying. Not stating they're involved at all, just it's an oddity.
Yes.
It's a question.
Right.
Because let's be honest, there should have been activity from birds. Something should have given you a sign that something was going on over there.
Absolutely. Nature is not kind to humans. Predation and everything occurs. And, that's just part of it. And there's a lot of recoveries that occur there. And Ms. Barbara and I have discussed that at great length. And there was a lot of discussion about was he there the whole time or not? And of course, I believe so. And some people argue that point, but I believe he was there, and
or put there soon after he disappeared.
Yes.
Probably it could have been maybe the 5 weeks after the dog. Maybe could it have been like after the dog hit on the thing and they moved him?
There's a lot of things that could be there that the dogs worked on, that reacted on. He could have been injured at that point. He could have been injured up there, and now we have decomp of blood, sort of like the Casey Anthony case. And so we have blood there. And so it doesn't have to be that there's a hole, that the victim's there. There could be some type of interactions of where there's substantial injuries there. And now we have decomp.
Timmy was hiding there. I think he ran there and hid there for a moment. Is my just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
me being there and being at the scene of where he was found and all of that. I don't believe Timmy was there the whole time. I believe, like Mr. Steve said, I believe maybe he was hurt. And
Yeah, there's a when we get there at the scene and the distribution of where law enforcement says they start finding article of clothing, his shoes, to where his final discovery is that a long trail of fight and flight, which I believe is the case.
Yeah. And that's another thing. There was the oddity about his tooth, right, Miss Barbara?
yes,
That did make sense to you because he had was it a plate?
he had a retainer on his bottom teeth. And where the retainer was on his teeth, them teeth are there, but the tooth in the middle is gone. They do talk about that in my documents.
Okay.
But when I was just looking at the pictures, noticed that the top tooth is completely gone out of his mouth. So I got the pathologist report back out, started reading it, and it didn't make any sense to me because they don't talk about it at all. They talked about the bottom tooth. They don't talk about the retainer. I have an x-ray and pictures of his teeth from his dentist that he had the retainer. They don't, but they do talk about that bottom tooth being gone, but they do not say anything about that top tooth. And then you look at the pictures, the tooth's gone, but then the pictures that the pathologist gave me, the tooth is back. But
And
nothing, it's not talked about.
And Mr. Steve, with your technical training, what is the documentation they should be doing on this dental evidence?
Well, like I said, they had a narrative that they started working with from the wrong angle to begin with, and they never changed their narrative. Even with the new evidence that's been developed and the new evidence that's coming, I see no reason why they wouldn't change that narrative and reopen it and go down these other avenues. But yes, there has to be that when you're at a crime scene, you need to try to explain to the families, and if they could have explained the discrepancies of his missing retainer and search for that retainer. Recently we went back just a month or so ago, and I had ordered the metal that dentists use, medical wiring that they make those retainers out of. I'd ordered some so that I could tune some equipment to go look for that retainer. It's missing. It should be in the creek, or it should be at one of those contact points, and we attempted to locate it. It's like hunting for a needle in a haystack that's moving.
Right.
And we tried that, and of course we didn't come up with anything. But you have to explain all these discrepancies of the blood at the or the dog's reactions, and it's not going to be a mouse. I mean, if the dog is certified and has proper training,
Yeah.
and it's alerting on 5 and 6, there's something at 5 and 6. Is it an injury? And then we have the shoes and the trail of discarded articles and eventually you find his skeletonized remains, and we have dislodged teeth, and all that has to be explained in some shape, form, or fashion. Standing alone, not saying that missing persons can't just die of natural causes, but how many times have we had natural causes where someone's calling in that, hey, I need help. My friend is threatening to harm me. And then we find that the friend himself is making those threats. And we have, and then we find that the person making the 911 call is deceased. And when you add it all up, it's not something that you would say someone died of natural causes. You can't have all these so-called coincidence that, oh, he just ran off into the night and don't worry about the threats I was threatening to do to him or the harm. That, although he never brought that those threats to the attention of law enforcement either. And I don't know to this date. We have all his interviews, but we don't have an interview of. Whenever you do look at his messages, you're going to see where I'm threatening him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, and the polygraphs. I didn't see anyone being questioned about. While they may have questioned being responsible for Timmy's death, they most certainly never went into the direction of did you see any type of altercations, threats, or being made to Timmy? And there's a lot of things that still need to be answered, and law enforcement failed to go down those paths. Although we're hoping that the cold case unit will take up this and answer a lot of those questions for Barbara.
Yeah. Because that's the thing is Miss Barbara, she wants answers. She's lost her boy. She's lost her baby boy. She needs to have some answers. And one thing about Miss Barbara, she has not gone quietly into the night. This is a picture of her setting up right at the courthouse, isn't it, Miss Barbara? There in Frederickstown. And she brings her pictures and she sits there, and people actually come up and talk to her and tell her stuff, you guys, because she sits there a lot on hot days, because she wants answers. And other people are coming up talking about their loved ones that have either been killed mysteriously, so it's not just Timmy in this area. That's the scary part. And Miss Barbara has spoken out, about some of these other cases too, because now this is a picture of Miss Barbara when they opened up. Was it the new courthouse or something? Or
the Justice Center.
Yeah, and Katrina, the guy that's standing behind her is Judge Fulton. Yeah, that's a picture of Judge Fulton and his really sweet wife in the red shirt, who is very nasty to Miss Barbara. And I'm going to tell you guys this: Miss Barbara stays polite with these people, and some of them are vicious to her. She has put her faith in work and does what she needs to do to be polite because she wants answers. And you do get more honey, or from being sweet
more
than
with
you
honey
do.
than vinegar.
Yeah. And so, because the judge's wife has not been kind and got very ugly with Miss Barbara. And right there tells you something about these people. Because when you lose a son, we need to have answers. He was 26 years old.
He had a birthday. He was 25 when it happened. He had a birthday. That's why everybody's saying he was 26. He had a birthday.
Okay.
He was 25 when it happened. In April, he turned 26.
Okay. So he was, he was a baby. He was still a baby. But she's not going quietly into the night. This is her getting her car prepared to be in a parade. And she put other people's posters.
And I did that.
Yep. And so the town can't not look. She is making sure they notice.
And I'm not, there's a lot of good people in that town.
Yeah.
I mean,
and a lot of people are scared too, aren't they?
They're afraid to talk. Yes, they'll tell you that. Well, I agree with what you're doing, but I can't sit here because they're afraid.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and some of them are older people, and you got to understand what they're going through when they see their community and some of the corruption. They're scared.
They'll tell you it's corrupt. They say, I hope you get somewhere, but I don't think you're going to, because this place is nothing but corrupt. It's been corrupt for many years.
Yeah. And here's the billboard that they got for Timmy. So she's putting it out there. They're not keeping quiet on any of this.
The foundation paid for that billboard.
Okay. That's awesome. Because they need to see him. They need to look at him. Because Timmy was a handsome young man. He deserved to be here with us. And here's like some others that are missing from Madison County.
They're not
And this
missing. All them cases
murder.
are, they said they unalived themselves. Well, they killed themselves.
Yeah.
Except
Self
for Gina Dawn Brooks. She's still missing.
okay.
Everybody else
Self-deletion.
killed themselves.
And the one girl supposedly used a very after she told you she was watching the airport, because there's a mysterious airport in this small town that things happen. So she was watching the airport, and then she mysteriously deletes herself by using a shower curtain rod that
No,
wouldn't hold her up.
that's Ashley. She's on that paper there, Ashley. They said she unalived herself by on a shower curtain rod in a camper.
Yeah, and those aren't very, you know.
She weighed 160 pounds. I brought that up to the prosecutor.
What was his answer to that?
He just shook his head. I said, you know, and I know she didn't do that. And he just shook his head.
Oh, Katrina
But
says
he's
if
not
anyone
going to be the prosecutor anymore. They just got the old prosecutor. That was the prosecutor when all this happened and all these cases happened. He didn't get elected in the next election. Mike Liggins got elected, and now he just ran again, and he just got voted in. Nobody ran against him. So the old prosecutor's back.
Oh Lord.
Oh my.
Katrina says if anyone needs contact info for Caleb's probation officer, let me know. Katrina's good at research.
Mhm.
She's one of my mods. She's a go-to for that kind of stuff. So afterwards, if you want that info, I'll put you in touch with Katrina, Miss Barbara.
Thank you.
Because Caleb's now he's in Tennessee, right? Or is he come back?
I heard he's in California. I heard he's in Tennessee, and then he's living in Farmington.
So who knows where he's at?
Right. Yeah.
He's everywhere. You know, but apparently we can definitely
He doesn't
say
worry about it. He's protected for some reason. That's my biggest question is why is Caleb so protected? That they just
Yes.
they won't sit down. I mean, he refused. He did say he would do a lie detector test. They set the lie detector test up, and as soon as they did that, he lawyered up. Then after he got out of jail, he told him he would do a lie detector test again. He told the highway patrol that the highway patrol said they would be back to pick him up that next morning at 10 a.m. When they went back to pick him up, he was not there, and that's the last time they ever talked to anybody. After Timmy was found, they didn't talk to anybody again. They never. Case closed. Move on.
Katrina said he's around for sure. So maybe she found some information due to the parole officer. We'll have to get you in touch with her. Find out. But so one of the other things that was mysterious was the fact that the discoloration of some of the bones, correct?
Well, it's I went to the funeral home and took pictures of Timmy myself.
Yes.
Then those pictures and the pictures that they gave me from the pathologist don't make any sense because they say they took a soft brittle brush and cleaned Timmy, but the pictures that I have, he's got piles of mud and the bones are dirty. So I don't know how they got dirty to clean. I mean, Mr. Steve shakes his head to it too because he doesn't understand it either. Because I didn't tell him I took those pictures when he first started looking at Timmy's case, and he looked at me and asked me where the pictures came from, and I said because I went to the funeral home and took pictures of Timmy myself because I didn't believe anything anybody said. At that point, you hear so much that I didn't trust nothing. So I went to the funeral home myself, and the funeral director thought I was nuts. And he's like, you sure you want to do this? You know what you're going to be looking at? And I said, yes, I just don't trust anybody. So I took those pictures. But if you look at the pictures of there's like a table of skeleton remains laying on this table. That's the picture they gave me. And it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And Mr. Steve, what are your thoughts on those photos that you've seen?
Well, that's when Miss Barber first showed me those photos, and I was discussing with her the timeline of when law enforcement released those bones, and she went to take those pictures, and then we see the law enforcement's pictures, which are in a sterile environment, laid out just like you would to account for his total skeletal body count of all the bones, and to look for injuries and what bones do we have, what bones are missing.
Right.
And they're laid out very orderly, and they're very uh, uh, sterile and clean, versus when Barbara takes her pictures, they're just, and I asked her that, and that's when we realized that there's a discrepancy, because how did she get dirty bones when she should have had clean bones?
Yeah.
If the
And that
bones
was
were
my
released by law enforcement to the funeral
yeah.
home.
And that was my question to Miss Barber when she shared photos with me, because I said, like you said, here's this sterile, the table with all the clean bones. And then what Miss Barbara's got photos of, sadly, is all this leaves and debris with with the skeleton. And it's like, okay, that was not the same. Those aren't the same. I'm sorry, you can't tell me, because if you had this cleaned up, why would you put it back in something that had debris? That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Steve. Does it to you?
No, no, that's like I said, I just shake my head and smile, and I have to go by what the timeline of that. Uh, did they go back and um, recover? Do a secondary um, search of the bones or something? I have no idea. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
his teeth, and then that tooth's missing. And then the tooth's back, and his teeth look clean. They look professionally clean.
Yeah, it's somebody has a warped sense of what clean bones are, or this just isn't the same body.
Well, I looked at the suture plate, human growth of what we have as adult skulls,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of did the comparative, and it does this, the where the growth plates of the human skull grows together throughout your adulthood. It does appear that the skull is the same, or at least it has the same peaks and growth not growth rings, but growth points, and that they suture up the same in both images. I've isolated certain parts of those growth plates, and they appear to be the same. Now, as far as for the rest of the bones, I have no idea. But the skull does appear to be the same in both images of the sterile environment versus what Miss Barber had.
Well, I'm going to be just a smart aleck here then. So yeah, I guess they did, because they put the tooth back in his mouth. So yeah, they had the right picture for his head.
But there's questions about the rest.
I have no, yeah, I like I said, I don't know how you get that. She gets bones that are dirty after they've been cleaned. Makes no sense to me. The timeline doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, something doesn't quite work out. We have, and the whole case, there's just so many questions, like Timmy's Facebook page being logged on March 27th, almost a month after.
Message on March 5th being read.
Yeah, the bones are really, it's one of those things that we may, the important thing is all the data surrounding Timmy's last 12 hours and the morning of. That's what's going to make and break this case. And even with the new evidence that's out there, that we're hoping that the co-case unit is now analyzing. We don't have any guarantees they're analyzing, but as long as we get that meeting with the co-case unit, they will be made aware of it, regardless if they find, and there's no way to miss it. If they have all the information we have, which they should, because they have the same contacts that Miss Barbara has been working with, and they have all the information. And so we're looking forward to seeing what the cold case unit brings to the table in the coming days. Hopefully in the next week, they'll get in touch with her and at least give her an audience of going there and saying, well, what about this? And there's no denying with what is in this new part that's critical to the case.
Something as simple as when his debit card was used at 9:11 a.m. on that morning, where are the photos?
Yes.
You know, where's that footage?
Yeah. Where's the still images? I mean, we got still images. Why don't you have images of that?
So, and
Because
that card
lightning
was
struck.
Yeah.
That's
and
the
that
second lightning strike.
That's the second lightning. And because the situation with the debit card is it was found back in his wallet. When they recovered Timmy, that card was in his wallet.
Yes,
So,
and that's where we have the distribution of the shoes going up to him, and there has to be some after contact of they have to control him. They have to have control of Timmy and his wallet at some point.
yeah.
If it's anyone other than Timmy, and if it's Timmy and he was up there using it, well, all you had to do is show that, oh, here's Timmy at 9/11 using his card, and then he walks away.
That's where I'm frustrated. It's these lightning strikes, you know, lightning struck the 911, lightning struck they went in there and got the evidence of who used the debit card and the car and all that. And when I asked for that, that's when I got the second letter that lightning struck. And then when I asked for the body cam that I was on, lightning struck that too. So I don't know. It just seems to be convenient that lightning strikes 3 times in one case.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm kind of worried about this poor city that they're not protecting themselves from lightning strikes.
Well, you know what's interesting too is when I had a meeting with Eric Hovis, which is the chief, the city chief. He's the, gosh, I'm stuttering at this point now. The chief of police. I had a meeting with him when Timmy was still missing. He told me he had cadaver dogs, but he could not use his cadaver dogs because it was out of his jurisdiction. But then you go to the gas station and you get the evidence, and then lightning strikes that too. And then he's in that video recording of me being on his body cam. He tells me, he's the whole time we're in the vehicle, he's like, I just don't understand it. He goes, I don't understand it. He said, if lightning struck our equipment, he said, I should have been notified. He said, because our 911 calls go through that sheriff's department. He says, and nobody told me that lightning has struck. He said, so I want to know how they knew to go to that house. And he asked me to get on my phone and put it on speakerphone and call down to the sheriff's office and ask them how they knew to go to that house. I did that. They told me that they had arrested somebody at that house the night before. That's how they knew to go there. So, and then this Bobby Boone girl's name, we talked about her. I asked for that body cam because he told me I was on body cam. And there was 2 officers in the back seat and he was driving. I was in the passenger seat. I called and I asked for that body cam too. And they said lightning struck that too. So like the chief of police jumped on the bandwagon with the sheriff that lightning strikes now. Because in the beginning, he was not happy about that. And then the PI that Timmy's dad had hired in the beginning, and I sat down with the chief of police when he told us that he couldn't get involved. Well, that he was writing a bunch of stuff down. Where's that paperwork? I guess, why is the building still up? I mean, if lightning struck, the building should be on fire because there's paperwork that lightning didn't, I mean, everything lightning strikes. It says, unfortunately, my paperwork says, unfortunately, on August 3rd, lightning struck. So we got another lightning strike.
Because where's your insurance claim for something that's damaged? Because if lightning struck and damaged, equipment, wouldn't there be an insurance claim? I mean,
well, and then when I talked to them, they told me lightning had struck like in a month or so before February 28th. Well, if that's the case, then where nobody else, I mean, lightning struck, then why is the sheriff, the chief of police saying to me that he wants to know how they knew to go there if lightning struck? He should have known that a month prior to that when lightning did strike, because his 911 calls go through that sheriff's office.
Well, maybe we need to do a donation gathering for the city to get them a lightning rod. I mean,
Here's something.
maybe a GoFundMe, get them a lightning rod, because that's just, I mean, I want to, be helpful.
I get
because-
laughed at when I say lightning strikes. People don't believe me at first. They think I'm joking, but they literally
Yeah.
do say, my
Oh,
documents
no,
say
I
lightning strike.
totally believe you that they told you that.
Now
I mean, it's just,
this whole thing has gone as far as is the DA, hasn't it? I mean, it's they know about the case, but they what do they say about these oddities that we're obviously seeing? Like the multiple lightning strikes that may or may not have happened. What do they have to say about that?
Well, the attorney general, I've talked to her and she's been very kind to me. I have to say, the attorney general has been
Okay.
very kind to me. She told us to get a hold of the cold case unit. We
Okay.
got a hold of the cold case unit. They weren't calling back, so I got back a hold of her, and she said she was going to have the cold case unit get a hold of me personally, and they did get a hold of me, and they told me that I had to have an invite, and I had to have an invite from the sheriff or the highway patrol. So I made phone calls. I wasn't getting answers. Finally, the sheriff did answer the phone, and I asked him for the invite, if he would give the cold case unit an invite, and he said yes. So the cold case unit called me and told me, yeah, we got the invite, but there's nothing to look at. And then I started telling him everything I'm telling you. I'm like, well, does this make sense to me? Why does this, and this all happening if there's nothing to look at? And the guy sounded pretty stunned. Like, he got real quiet for a moment, and then he said, well, give me a few weeks. I waited about a month, and he didn't call me back. So I got back a hold of the attorney general, and she said that she was going to call him and personally and have him call me. They did, and now they're supposed to be looking into it.
I mean, what would be interesting if the cold case squad would pull up other reports for the 911 office that night to see who else called 911 and if their calls are being logged. Because it couldn't just be Timmy's call that got hit by lightning. It would have to be all of the calls that night.
Right.
So, I mean, that would be a way to do a check on that, because that just doesn't make sense.
Well,
I
mean, the tooth being up here and back either doesn't make sense. I told him that. I
No.
said, how does the tooth come out of somebody's mouth and then it's back?
Well,
And I
there's
truly don't
something.
believe they were planning on me, just like that receipt. That did not
Yeah.
come from my sunshine
Yeah.
law from the highway patrol. And
Yeah.
those pictures of that tooth, I have the picture of the tooth being out, and then I got a picture of the tooth being back. When you're telling me that, why would you put a tooth back in a skeleton remains? I ain't like
Yeah.
I'm gonna have an open casket or anything. There's no reason to put
Yeah.
a tooth back in his mouth. So I took that to the prosecutor, and I showed him the picture before when the tooth was out, and then I showed him the picture of the tooth being back. He told me to give him a few days, and then he got back with me and he said, well, he talked to the highway patrol, and the highway patrol told him that they had to do reconstruction to make sure crime hasn't been committed. And I said, well, if you had to do reconstruction, wasn't a crime committed? And that was the end of that. Nobody talked to me anymore.
Because the coroner has said the death is undetermined, correct? That's what they've classified it as. But the patrol had the state patrol, are they the ones that have closed it?
Yes.
They closed the case.
Yes.
And yet they still don't want to give you any additional information because they like to pretend that they might be working on it, but you closed it.
No, I have documents where they say the case is closed.
Yeah, a case with all these questions.
Well, Katrina made a point earlier about that medical examiners only remove soft tissue. and the soil can stain bones and so forth, but that means there should be plenty of DNA still. What?
There was no soft tissue left.
There's no soft tissue at all.
No, no,
None. No
So,
fingernails, no hair, nothing.
no.
so there is no DNA to.
Well, I did send Timmy's thigh bone, and I still have it in the box. I haven't even opened the box because I don't want to open that box because I don't know if I'll need it in the future, and I don't want to say I
Right.
did anything. So it's still in the box. I sent it to Texas, and I went and had my DNA tested with that bone, and that his thigh bone says, I know that.
Yeah.
And that was Timmy's clothes. Timmy was wearing those clothes when he left my house. So I believe the body is Timmy's. I just don't believe that Timmy just laid down and died. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to say.
And with his pants around his ankles, you know. I mean, there's just too many questions. Katrina just posted, well, Mr. Caleb is on 5 years of supervised probation that goes until at a minimum 2028. So maybe, yeah. So he does have a probation officer, and he is on supervised probation until 2028.
Good for him.
Yeah. So she actually sent me something, so I do know his address. I will send that to you later. So you have it, and you know where he's located at, or the last, thing that the, I guess, probation officer had of him.
Last known location.
And we had a march on Timmy's birthday down there. I made signs. People came. We marched around. That was when Timmy was still missing. Caleb was out of jail at that time, and he came out and got in Timmy's dad's face and cussed him like a dog.
Huh.
That just breaks my heart. I mean, it just, this case baffles you as to how they have totally ignored logical evidence, and they don't even want to say
That's what
anything.
I've said all along. I just would wish that they would just sit down with me and explain to me why they came to the conclusion they came to. That's all I'm asking for. Just explain to me why you came to the conclusion you came to. And I asked the Attorney General that. I said, when the cold case unit looks at this stuff, will I get the opportunity? Will they sit down with me and explain to me why they came to the conclusion they came to? And she said they will. And I said, and then can I give them what I have? And she said yes. So
Yeah.
I will be back on the phone tomorrow because it's been over a month now. So I will be calling her back.
Because, it's so close to just being able to have someone sit down and walk you through it. That's what you're asking. You want them to walk you through it because it has to make sense.
Oh, I'm just supposed to believe, and this was their exact words. Don't you just want to believe nothing bad happened to him? Well, my son's dead. Something bad happened to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what their exact words was to me.
Let's see. Katrina says the charge that Caleb is on is a felony charge from January of 2022.
Yeah.
So the timing is close.
February is when this, all went down. So.
Yeah, and then Caleb made everybody think that Caleb went to jail that day for a gas drive-off. That's not why Caleb went to jail. Caleb went to jail because he had warrants. And I asked the Highway Patrol when I went there I went on August the 12th. And I asked him, I said, well, if you arrested Trevor that night because he had warrants, why didn't you arrest Caleb that night? He had warrants too. And he said, well, because Caleb was in the house. And I said, how do we know that? He said, because Caleb told us. I said, oh, so everything Caleb said is the gospel, but what my son says that his friend's threatening him doesn't mean anything?
Yeah, the guy that has warrants out, we're going to believe. The guy that literally comes out and says he has drug issues.
And then there's another recording that I have of Caleb talking to his sister, and his sister's telling Caleb, I'm just going to blame it on Zach. And you can see Caleb raising his hands up. He goes, oh, you can't blame it on Zach. Zach wasn't even there. What are you going to blame on him? Because at that time, Timmy was still missing. And then there's another recording where Caleb starts talking to his sister about an eye.
Whoops. We lost Miss Barbara.
Yeah,
She'll
we
be
did.
back.
She'll be back. I hope.
There
Yeah.
there you are, darling.
Am I there?
Yep, you're here.
Okay. And then there's another recording of him talking to his sister, and he's telling his sister, "Remember that ID, that ID?" And Timmy found it. Well, then Caleb's telling the highway patrol that him and Timmy were walking by this dumpster, and Timmy kicked this trash, and he found an ID, a birth certificate, and everything, and he's going to take on somebody else's identity, and it's a woman. And none of that seems to be suspicious to anybody but me.
He was going to take a woman's identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
Caleb's telling his sister, "Remember that ID, that ID?" It's so, if you sit and just even listen to the audio recordings I have of him and his sister, and him and some other girl, and that he's messing around with, and him and his girlfriend Amber. I mean, his stories aren't the same in any of the recordings that I have. And then the recordings between Caleb and I, they just refuse to give them to me. I still to this day do not have them.
Yeah. And so that's why we're doing this story. I encourage you, everybody, to go to Miss Barbara's Facebook page with the girls that put the link in. You know, Doodlebug, like I said, has done a lot of work on this case. Check out her channel. Any updates that Miss Barbara has, we will definitely get information out. Real quickly, I want to just go over some quick missing people before we wind up, because with our missing people, we know that people get coerced out of their home, especially young ones, and then they get in a situation they can't come home. We also know trafficking does happen, and sometimes people have an illness and they do wander off. So when you're out and about, put the cell phone down, look at people's faces, because you could actually help save somebody's family member, and it's really important. If you get that feeling that you might recognize someone, call 911. If you're afraid to, you can email us at tipsfortrialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. I'll pass a tip on. I have no problem. The first one we have is actually they discovered somebody. He's an unidentified person that was deceased in a homeless encampment in Burrstone Road, Utica, New York, on July 20th, 2026, at approximately 12:25 p.m. Now, the Utica police are helping because they've been sweeping this camp. There are a lot of distinguishing tattoos. Please look at these tattoos. If you have a relative that is missing that is male, there are some native marking, like things that I'm not sure if it's a native person. They don't really give us any race or any details. The tattoos are there, so please look at them. Our next person is Sean Alex Bird. He's 44. March 16th, 2026, last seen Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's 5'5", weighs 120 pounds. He has short hair that's black with brown eyes. He has facial hair, tattoos, may wear glasses, and it's the OK, and I'm not even going to try and say the police department. It's OWINGEH. I have no idea. But the contact phone number is 505-852-2757. Let's get him found. And then the last one is Vincent O'Brien. This young man is 15. He went missing August 4th in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. On August 4th let's see, the NCIC number is M as in Michael, 469089813. The NCMEC number is 2097985, or contact the Pawtucket Police at 401-727-9100. Let's get this young man home. He's only 15 years old. And if you see something, you guys, say something. Somebody always knows something. But Miss Barbara and Steve, it's been a privilege to have you guys here. What information, Miss Barbara, do you want us to know before we wind up tonight?
I think we said it all. I'm just praying and waiting for answers. Hopefully the cold case unit will be getting a hold of me soon and I'll have
Yeah.
some answers.
We will be
I
very,
just want a
very
meeting with
interested
them.
to hear that, what
Yeah.
transpires from that.
And please, you guys, go check out her Facebook page. She also has a TikTok.
I do
you
have a
know,
petition.
yes, she has a petition. I'm going to post that first poster that shows the this poster because it has the thing for the petition to reopen Timmy's case. We will repost that tonight on all of our social media.
Thank you.
Mr. Steve has the True Crime Web YouTube page. He's been really busy, hasn't posted as much, but you're getting ready to start doing more work on your YouTube, correct, Mr. Steve?
Yes, there's so much work to do with the foundation side of it, which is our work
Yeah.
that we go across the country helping families. We don't charge them; they can, the cost of having someone with the CSI background that I have is far above what most families can afford, and so the foundation allows me to travel the country, work with these families, and for that I am extremely grateful to have that those people that support me in that manner that allow me to do that so that families doesn't cost them anything. And I want to thank you for covering this case, bringing awareness to the case, because it means a lot to all these families that you cover. And I wish to thank you for that.
Well, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Steve. And if
Thank you, Mr. Steve,
anybody,
for your time.
and yes, I mean, it's awesome to have someone with your experience that, you're retired, but you don't sit behind the desk. You still get out there and you're helping families that really need someone to sometimes just to explain things to you so that they know how it's happening. Go
That's
to
a
Mr.
huge deal to
Yeah.
have somebody sit down and just listen to you. And that was a
Yeah.
big problem that I ran into. Nobody would even sit down and listen or talk to me or explain anything to me. Nothing.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. So go over, he said, he's got a foundation website, which is truecrimeweb.com. You can make a donation over there, right, Mr. Steve?
Yeah, the True Crime Web Foundation is a nonprofit, and
Yeah.
We're well financed, and and I appreciate everybody, and of course, I don't. I've been so well blessed with it that I don't ever ask for funding, and I don't want anyone
Okay.
to go out of the way that if you can't afford anything, do not.
Yes.
We help families from billboards to creating certain pins, and as Miss Barbara, she's a she orders quite often from us for pins and bottle openers and mirrors and things to bring awareness, and so we help families with that. And,
Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay.
But we try to help
This
families.
bottle opener, and it's got a magnet on it. It's on my refrigerator.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't charge anything for any of those. So if you have families out there that need something, they're going to be having a special event, or if they want to bring awareness to the case, and they have stories they want to give out. What drove us down that line is that Miss Barbara always gave bracelets out because people will take the stories when they're receiving something along with those stories, and so that started us along with the creating the pins and things for awareness, and bottle openers and mirrors for these families. But if you ever have someone that needs something like that, don't hesitate, contact us, and we'll be glad to get a package up for these families. Doesn't cost anything. It's free of charge. They only have to pay for shipping. The foundation pays for everything. And
Okay.
so when
And
we help these families,
if
we
anybody
take
needs
care of everything.
flyers, I'm actually sending flyers out to families.
Oh,
Oh yes,
okay.
that's another thing that she's volunteered for, to become part of that, to help these families creating flyers and that. And so absolutely, we try to help in any shape, form, or manner that we can.
And if anyone's ever got a flyer, mostly I show Indigenous people flyers because they get the least attention. But if you have a flyer for anybody, a loved one, a friend that you want us to put out there, just email it to us at trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. We'll get that flyer out there on one of our shows, because every show we show some flyers.
You know, when Timmy was missing, my nephew worked at a printing company. And I was blessed because I know we put thousands of flyers out. And I know what money I spent besides him being able to stay after work and make these flyers for me. And that's a big expense to families that do not have the money for flyers. So that's why I got blessed to help with that, so I can send flyers to families.
Oh, that's awesome, Miss Barbara. Oh, Avery, that's not a Papillon. That was my first thought too. Yeah, Doc put it in there. It's a long-haired Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Miss Barbara's buddy.
She's my girl. She's my little piece of heaven.
Yeah.
Well, you need to have that to get through. I understand that. And there's a picture of Miss Barbara with both of her boys. And let's all make sure we say a prayer for Miss Barbara tonight and her children, because this is a tough mom, but it's a situation no mom should have to go through. And truthfully, you guys, the police in this small town and the sheriff's department, they failed Miss Barbara.
Yeah.
They failed Timothy. And I'm going to say it. I don't care. They failed her because
Okay.
they're not giving her any answers.
They definitely dropped the ball on this one.
Thank goodness, Mr. Steve stepped up and has been helping her.
Yep.
And that's awesome. But let's not forget, you guys, every killer and predator depends on your silence. And we're committed to not giving it to them. If you know something, speak up, because it wasn't a mannequin. It never is, you guys. Someone always knows something. And our motto on our channel has always been silence is betrayal. If you don't hear these stories, change doesn't happen. And that's what the bad guys count on, is us staying quiet. So until next time, you guys, stay informed, stay compassionate, keep seeking the truth. Never stop speaking up. Doc, do you want to say goodnight?
Good night, Doc.
Night, Doc.
Mr. Steve and Miss Barbara, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was an honor to have you both on.
Thank you.
And we're here for either one of you. If you have a case or just something that you need us to help with, let us know. We love you guys, all of you. We thank you for coming and joining us tonight. Criminals never stop, so neither do we. We'll see you on, let's see, this is Sunday. I forgot what day of the week it was. We will see you Thursday night with another story here on Trial Junkies United, Justice After Dark. And pay attention. We wrote another song for the episode tonight. We love you all, and ciao. Have a good night.
I know my boy like I know my own name. Every day a call, rain or shine, never the same. He called to tell me about his day. I was the one he never kept away. February came and the calls just stopped. Something in my chest went cold and dropped. I didn't need proof, I didn't need a sign. A mother just knows when it isn't right in time. 4 days I waited, 4 days I prayed, 4 days of silence, 4 days afraid. I'm not just a mother waiting by the phone. I'm the one who won't stop, won't leave them alone. They may have stopped looking, but I never will. came slow like a storm that wouldn't break. Then came the night that made my whole world shake. I always feared this day would come somehow. The words that broke me, I speak them now. I buried my boy, but I won't bury the fight. I carry his name into the light. I'm not just a mother waiting by the phone. I'm the one who won't stop, won't leave them alone. They may have stopped looking, but I never will. I'm his mother, and I'm climbing this hill. They answered his call, but they never searched that night. So I'm the one who's still fighting for life. They had 8 minutes, 8. I've had years. Someone knows what happened to my son. I want justice. I want the truth. I'm still not done. Still not done. I'm still not done. Somebody's gonna answer for my son. I'm not just a mother waiting by the phone. I'm the one who won't stop, who won't leave them alone. They may have stopped looking, but I never will. I'm his mother, and I'm climbing this hill. They answered his call, but they never searched that night. So I'm his mother, and I'm still fighting for life. Timmy Dees, I won't let go. I'll say your name for the whole world to know. Timmy's mother, this is my fight. I won't stop calling into the night.